real as it gets. Only on 919. We all love a good story. Stories of love and life. Stories that entertain and inspire. And the best stories are the ones that happen to be true. Every Friday night, Jack Devnarain is live in conversation with an iconic South African personality who shares the true stories that shape their remarkable lives. Join us for reality radio as real as it gets. From 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Friday night, only on 919.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. You're listening to 919. My name is Jack Devnarain and this is Reality Radio. It's as real as it gets. Every Friday night when we have a special guest in studio talking about the incredible stories that shape their lives. Every Friday night from 6 to 7 p.m. Tonight, we have a real life extreme endurance adventurer, life coach, author and athlete, Gaven Sinclair. Welcome, Gaven.
Jack, thanks for having me in the studio. I really appreciate it.
So good to see you, man. I know most of your life would, if you're not actually on an adventure, you're training to be on one. Isn't
Something
that
like that, yeah. So, I mean, in 2017 is when I got into extreme adventuring. My first challenge was I cycled solo, unsupported from Cape Town to Cairo on a bicycle. Took me 7 months. Insane experience.
7 months of cycling non-stop.
Well, I mean, there were times, some of the things that you got to consider when you're doing solo unsupported challenges. Solo unsupported means there's no backup vehicle and it's just you alone out there. Is that you got to trust your intuition, your survival instinct kicks in, and you got to listen to your body. So if you need to rest, because the idea is getting over the finish line and finishing what you've set out to achieve. So not every day. You rest when you have to, and then you have things like malaria, stomach bugs, so there are so many variables.
Let's go through some of those highlights, though, because I can imagine solo trip on a bicycle through Africa over 7 months must rank up there as one of the craziest things that an adventurer could do.
I tell you, my experience going at a snail's pace through Africa was incredible. From the people, the environment, the culture, you're literally watching your environment showcase and actually show themselves off as, the landscape changes to baobabs, to the different local villages and huts and the traditional people, but an incredible experience.
And I'd like to go into that with a little bit more detail, but apart from that, I know that there was another running adventure of yours. You did a 1,000-kilometer run. That was Gqeberha to Cape Town, right?
Correct. So my last challenge was for Syntropy Wellbeing to launch their app, which is about health and well-being, to inspire the individual, the community and the nation. So that was from Gqeberha to Cape Town along the coastline in 30 days. And then I've also done another run, which was 4,000 Ks, also over 7 months through Africa, 3 African countries. And that was in support of missing children in South Africa, raising funds and awareness for child trafficking as well.
So this is a lifestyle, though, because I can imagine that you have to apply yourself. It's the planning, the dedication, the training. You've got to know the kind of challenges you're going to face when you're on the adventure. So explain that process to me. If you're planning, let's just say a bicycle trip to cover 3 countries in Africa to raise funds, what are some of the things you need to prep for?
So, I mean, firstly, mentally, physically, you've got to be prepared. And then you've got to look at it from a business point of view. You do PR, you get the press, media involved, you get sponsors involved. And of course, you're doing it for a charity, so you need to be out there. So the hardest part is getting on the start line. Once you start and you just start riding a bicycle, it's bliss. It's incredible. But it's all the prep work that goes behind the scenes, getting the right sponsors on involved, getting the right exposure through social media and press media. And then, of course, your logistics, your planning, your food. So your real your real planning only starts once you start riding.
Oh, really?
There's no ways Google can prepare you for what can happen on a daily basis. So I've learned a few hacks on my adventuring, and some of them is when you're riding and you finish your stage, you basically start prepping for the next day's stage based on how you feel. You speak to the locals, you ask the locals for advice, because they can give you the best advice moving forward on each stage. But literally, your planning starts as you start, and it becomes live, and you just take it. So there's, no matter what happens, whether it's a good day or a bad day, it's still a good day.
I love that. And also then you by the very nature of the trip, you then have to engage with the locals.
Sure. So, I mean, it's about people. I mean, what really has made these experiences for me are the people. It's the experiences, it's the memories that you meet along the way with people. And it's incredible, the people that have helped me through Africa. I mean, there were locals that helped me fix my bicycle. I mean, there were people that, housed me, that fed me and stuff. So I've had incredible experiences with human beings along the way. And I'm talking from being in a major city in Nairobi to a tiny little village. And I remember this quick story, if I may say. Most of the day, you're almost getting wiped out or killed by trucks. So the thing is, I actually got pushed off the road, and I bent the rim and blew the tire. And there was a local guy who fixed my bicycle wheel. And I remember giving him money, and he had this reaction, and I thought I offended him. So I asked a guy who could speak English. I said, have I done something to offend this man? And this man's reaction was, I've just given him enough money to not have to go work in the fields for 2 weeks. No. An old elderly man. And that was the appreciation, and it's amazing how you touch people's lives and how they touch you along the way.
And in those journeys as well, I think you must have a deeper appreciation of people's language, their history, their culture. Do you get a chance also to engage at that level?
Indeed. I mean, it's part of what you're doing, because you sort of being followed on social media and the press. So you take the time out, and people respect what you're doing out there. And I mean, there's, and many times, like in West Kenya, Lake Turkana, I ran out of food and water, and literally I was gesturing to nomadic tribesmen that I needed water and food. And then people ask me, didn't you have a communication barrier challenge along the way? And there is one universal language, and that's the smile. Everybody can appreciate and understand what a smile means.
That's beautiful, man. And have there been many of such incidents where you realize you're getting to the end of your own supplies for the day, you're going to finish the stage, but you don't know what's going to happen next? Have you ever been in that sort of situation?
Almost every night. You can imagine you're on a bicycle now. You've got your pinnage, you've got your tent. So every night you don't actually know where you're going to sleep. So I've slept in drains along the road. I mean, I remember going through Durban. I actually put banana leaves over me in the bike just to protect myself, and slept like that. I've slept in hotels, B&Bs, backpackers, whatever it is. And of course, in my tent along the way. So a lot of the times you don't really know where you're going to end up until you end up in that point. But your goal is to obviously get to certain stages along the way. But every day is you never know what's going to happen.
And I can just imagine the intensity of the experience, though. Have you ever been in a situation where you woke up and you thought, I'm just not feeling it? Like, what on earth am I doing here?
Look, I mean, I've gone through that. I remember when I got on my bicycle, and I just come out of a radio interview saying I'm cycling to Cairo, and I realized, oh no, I actually said this publicly, I'm going to cycle to Cairo. So I actually started crying.
You committed now.
And I actually said, I've committed to riding, so I guess I have to ride to Cairo on a bicycle. But along the way, there are so many incredible experiences, and you learn to appreciate life, and you appreciate just the simple thing like turning on a tap and you have water. There are so many challenges out there where for a week or two I never really had a shower or bath, and let me tell you, I was really smelling at one point. But there are so many things you can be. The one thing you're guaranteed is when you come back from one of these challenges, you grow as a human being. You deal with your demons, and there's been many times I've shouted on the top of my lungs in the middle of Africa, what am I doing? Am I insane? Am I crazy? What am I thinking? But yeah, that's part of it. And some of the hacks is you don't think cumulatively. So you block out time and distance when you're doing that. It's almost like a robotic movement that you go into, this rhythmic thing of just cycling or running or swimming.
I can imagine that's one of the more important hacks when it comes to focusing on the now.
Correct.
Although in radio, as you can imagine, we got to focus on time. And right now, we got to take a 1-minute break. We will be back. It's Reality Radio on a Friday night with Gaven Sinclair.
Thank you.
919 has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, programming that is not harmful to children and that does not amount to hate speech, or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. If you think we're not living up to that code, you can inform the BCCSA. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa to PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. Or email the BCCSA at napsa.co.za. For more information, visit the bccsa.co.za. We all love a good story. Stories of love and life. Stories that entertain and inspire. And the best stories are the ones that happen to be true. Every Friday night, Jack Devnarain is live in conversation with an iconic South African personality who shares the true stories that shape their remarkable lives. Join us for Reality Radio, as real as it gets. From 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Friday night, only on 919.
And we're back. It's Friday night, and this is Reality Radio with me, Jack Devnarain, and we have in studio Gaven Sinclair talking about his life as an extreme endurance athlete. Gavin, we were talking right now. You can just feel a bit of a change in the temperature. Things are getting a little bit crisp now, isn't it?
Sure.
How does that affect your training?
Well, I mean, I actually prefer to train midday.
Okay.
I don't really do early morning training. And I don't do very well with the cold, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, I prefer the hotter climates. Living in Mozambique, beautiful lifestyle and climate there. And but for me, midday training is the best because I also tend to train in the more extreme times of the day. Yeah. So it just preps me for when I'm out in Africa that, if it's the extreme weather, you are able to climatize to that. So I prefer to train in more harsher conditions.
Where did you think that the appeal of the adventure is where you need to dedicate your life? At which point did you say, I am going to be this adventurer, as opposed to just being an athlete and achieving wonderful things as an athlete?
Sure. So when I was young, I was always driven by extreme sports, BMX racing and motocross and stuff. And for me, it was about, taking this extreme challenge and seeing if I can create a business model out of it. And you get to do corporate talks and stuff. So for me, I don't know how it started, but I just, at one point in my life, I actually watched the McGregor show, the guy that came from Cairo down on a motorbike. And I remember watching this on TV going, man, that'll be amazing, going through Africa to Cairo. Maybe I should do it on a bicycle. And I just think I've always been extreme in all the things I do. So I guess, for me, to do things for a long period of time, and I get to literally live my dream and inspire, motivate people that anything's possible. You can do as long as you have the confidence and you believe in yourself, sharpen that pencil every day and just keep at it. Ironically,
though, much of the time that you spend engaged in your adventure, you're alone.
Sure. Solo and supported. For me, it's just, I don't mind being with myself. I'm a little bit of a loner in that sense. But, you're so preoccupied anyway out there, meeting people, what you are seeing and witnessing. So being out there by yourself, I think in some sense it's very liberating, and I think we all need a little bit of downtime and us time, alone time, to really dig deep and ask those serious questions and just to work on oneself internally as well as externally.
I know you had a bit of corporate experience as well. What was that like? Was that a kind of a prison for you?
Well, I mean, I think we all do what we have to do in life, and it's life, right? So you learn and you go through the corporate lifestyle and you learn skills, you grow. Very blessed and grateful for my experiences in the corporate life, and I've managed to use that and apply it to my extreme, using the marketing background and being able to do charitable work. So I guess in that way, I've applied my corporate experiences to this adventuring as a professional career.
And do you think, just to touch on your life and work as a life coach, have you found that people are getting further and further away from themselves, or are they connecting in a different way through social media? Now post-COVID, obviously, people are connecting differently.
Sure.
People have been so isolated, and there's been a profound impact on people's psyche because of that. Have you found that it's basically the same issues before COVID and now, or do you find particularly now people are losing touch with themselves and the sense of adventure?
I think post-COVID, the pandemic and stuff, I think we had a lot of time to reflect on what was really important in our lives. We had that sort of pause button that happened. I think a lot of us are probably as disconnected or connected. And I have this saying, get lost to find yourself. And sometimes you have to lose yourself to find yourself. And yes, social media, there's an incredible platform and you can do amazing work with social media. But then there's also the sense that everybody is feeling more disconnected, although we are more than ever connected today.
Yeah. So how do you address that by using your philosophy of find yourself by getting lost? How do you introduce people to adventuring in order to discover themselves?
Yeah, look, I think nature's got an incredible healing process.
Yeah.
We should be outdoors. We should be promoting our kids to move more. And to go out into nature, it's important. We've done this as sapiens. As us, we used to go into the mountain for a few days and then come back down. It's so important for us to be in nature and that quiet time. There's a healing process that nature has this incredible power that heals one. I just think, you can't motivate anyone. They've got to be ready to take that step forward. And a lot of people aren't prepared to take that step for many reasons, but fear holds us back. And fear is our friend because, in fact, when you're scared to do something because you're going to step out of your comfort zone and you're going to grow, step towards it. Fear is your friend, and you're going to grow a lot from stepping into the things you don't want to do most.
Yeah.
And I just think, keep learning, keep growing, keep exploring.
What do you think people are afraid of, though? It can't just be I'm afraid of taking this walk through this nature reserve. That actually sounds quite pleasant. So what is it that people are really afraid of?
I think maybe some people are too content in their comfort zone and they don't like to feel uncomfortable because you have to be uncomfortable to actually grow. And for some people, the fear of the unknown is, actually that's probably something that is a concern to people. I just think you need to keep moving forward in life. You need to fall forward. Don't fall backwards in life. Keep moving forward.
You had challenges as well. Growing up, you were dealing with dyslexia, dealing with ADD.
Correct.
Did those become debilitating, or did you just simply accept them as part of your life and move on from there?
Look, when you're growing up and you're in school, you don't feel adequate. You don't feel that you're part of everybody else, and you get teased and you battle with homework and stuff, and things don't make sense. And I think maybe in the schooling system, you need that support structure for individual people who have ADD or dyslexia. And sometimes in the earlier education systems, people you are seen as a problem child, because you can't concentrate in the classroom because you're staring out the window and you rather want to be outside because your concentration is so hard. So I've grown up with young, it's very hard, but as you get older, you actually learn to deal with those things and you make peace with those things. So me today, I've managed to use my strengths, which is my ability physically to do things and to inspire, motivate people. And I know that's a tool I can use. And the incredible thing is with AI and stuff, that helps people with dyslexia and writing skills, problems. And so thank goodness with technology and where we are today, those tools I'm applying in my life.
Do you think those same tools are also distracting people from the possibility of being outdoors and experiencing the adventure? Are we engaging with these tools in the kind of way that takes us away from the life outside, the one that you enjoy, which is the outdoors?
Yeah, I think if you look at a lot of teenagers today and the new generation, there's definitely an influence with tech. And a lot of people, behind their tablets and playing games and being a little bit more distracted. When in my generation, we never had tablets and laptops and things like that.
Yeah.
We had a BMX. So that was part of it. So I think if you have a balanced lifestyle and your parents, encourage you to get out because, taking care of your health is number one. You've got to be fit. You've got to stay active because when you get older, I say running is the most incredible discipline you can have, and it's for free. If you can install that in your kids growing up or any discipline, and that becomes a lifestyle habit, it's something that will keep you healthy, fit, and it builds confidence.
I think that's the important part, though. It's got to be a regular thing. It's got to be built into your day.
Correct.
And if you don't do it, then you must feel as if something's missing.
Exactly.
For so many people, though, it's all, okay, so I've signed up the gym membership, now what? And you'll see them. I wonder if you've ever seen this. From January to March, the outfits in gym are brand new. It's the latest design. The colors are vivid and beautiful because they were barely used. And then by March, April, you start to see those people not there anymore.
Exactly.
Because it starts to feel like work.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've got to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. But the great thing is, for instance, when I get up and I'm going to do a run, the first thing that goes through my mind is, here I go again, running again, and you got to get into your rhythm and to your stride. And it is a little bit of a frustration, and it's not always the easiest thing to do, but the thing is afterwards, that's the reward. After you've done the run, you feel good about yourself and you're glad that you actually did it. It's easy to think, okay, let me go out for a few beers with my mates tonight, or should I be disciplined, go to bed early and wake up at 5, 6 o'clock and go to the gym in the morning?
So how did you manage through COVID? Because we were locked down. You couldn't even go to the park, which is a public space, even though it's open, fresh air. We couldn't enjoy those public spaces anymore, or take a ride along the road and things like that. You couldn't run using the same routes anymore, if at all. So where weren't you stuck in any sense? I
remember that. I actually was living in Mozambique at the time, and I think we didn't take it as serious.
Okay.
And I remember, through social media and stuff, the lockdown was so bad that people couldn't even get things and you food rations and stuff. But for us, we just carried on as business as usual. I used to run on the beach every day and eat crayfish and drink dosh. And so for me, I don't think we were as affected as you guys in South Africa at that time, fortunately. But when I came back to South Africa, I wasn't familiar with how everything had changed, from the stickers on the floor where you had to stand. And I was constantly getting into trouble, standing too close to someone or so it was an interesting shift. Interesting times.
And how do you manage injury then? Because the more you train, the more likely you are to be injured.
Correct.
So you got to factor that into your prep as well.
So that too, and of course, like I say, the ideal thing is to trust yourself, listen to yourself, get the nutrition you need, and just listen to your body. And yes, if you pick up an injury, you really want to sort it out and just go slow and just be patient, because the thing is, you want to get through 7 months of cycling, and there's no rush. The point is to finish what you've set out to do, and to do it for a good cause, and to raise funds and awareness. But the most important thing is, if you need to rest, let your body recover.
Because it's a self-healing mechanism.
Exactly.
It's
Incredible, yeah. And we are extremely powerful physically. We are far powerful. I say to people, when you get to a point where you feel exhausted, mentally, physically, trust me, you still got 60% in yourself. You can still go another 60%.
That's a very Goggins kind of an approach as well. Hey, he's quite an inspiring character. Who do you look up to as some of those heroes of endurance adventuring?
The guys that pioneered in the early 1900s, the guys that did explored the Antarctica and the South Pole. What I'm inspired by is anybody who did those things back in those days with less sophisticated equipment, very basic apparel and stuff. And it was a lot harder for people back then, and they had to be a lot tougher. Today's technology and satellite tracking, GPS track watches, and the equipment today is a lot more advanced and technical. So anybody who did extreme exploring in the earlier days, Shackleton is a hero of mine, and his story, incredible. If you've not watched the documentary about Shackleton and how they got stuck with their boat and the ice closed in on their boat, unbelievable. I mean, how they survived. It was just incredible, those stories.
And do those inspire you as well? Like, do you also draw on them in those darker, difficult hours?
It does. So, people have asked me, when you're at your darkest, most challenged times, how do you deal with those times? And it is, I think about other people who are going through much harder situations than me, because you draw strength from other people's challenges in life. And there's always someone who's gone through a much more challenging situation than yourself. So no matter where you are, what you're doing, and it feels like you're just in a very dark, challenging space, just always know that there are people that have been in even worse situations than you. And good day or bad day, every day is a good day.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? Because I mean, you do so many things. You're cycling, you're swimming, running, all of that. I imagine climbing and hiking is all part of that as well. Do you have a favorite that you lean to more often than not?
I would say running is one of my favorites. Swimming is my worst.
Is
really
it?
a bad. So I just had to tick that box when I swam the island of Ilha de Mozambique up north to the mainland. I literally I swam for my life. I'm not a very good swimmer, but I had to just tick that box off, get that out the way, and then do whatever next. But I mean, I enjoy hiking, and of course I enjoy cycling stuff, but running for me is a favorite, definitely.
Have you come across any places in Africa where you thought, I'm in serious trouble here, I shouldn't be here?
Look, I think 99.9% of my experiences have been phenomenal. You are so safe out in Africa. People love you and respect you. There's kindness. There's such humility and humanity out there in Africa. And the thing is, there have been a few situations where I had to cycle, pedal for my life, and I was chased, and like I say, trucks every day. The thing is, some of the trucks would hoot that they're coming behind you, but the thing is, because there's no yellow line and the roads are so narrow in Africa, it's after the truck passes you, it's that whirlwind where you almost get pulled into the back
into the vortex,
the vortex of the wheels and stuff. But there has been situations. I remember at one petrol station, these guys all of a sudden on a picky, which is a motorbike.
Yeah.
They arrived at this petrol station. I think I was in Tanzania somewhere, and you could see these guys, their eyes, and they were intoxicated. You could smell.
Really?
And the one question the guy asked me is, GPS tracking? You've got tracking?
Yeah.
So the intention was to obviously see if I'm being tracked.
Yes.
So that's why they asked such a strange question.
Yeah.
And I just got on my bike, and your gut is always right. You know when you can sense there's a situation that doesn't feel right. And you get out of those situations, and you avoid situations as well. But yeah, I've had quite a few
I
experiences.
can
out there.
imagine. And that's all part of the adventure as well. The adventure continues with Gaven Sinclair. We're going to take a break and we'll be back with Reality Radio after this.
Reality Radio, as real as it gets. Only on 919. The Feel Good Drive with Nicole De Silva on 919.
A person with was
Yeah.
being in that space at all, it sort of elevates you to where other people would like to use you. I'm now at a point where I'll say no, so I can see it from a mile away. Someone you don't hear from in forever and always sends you a message.
friend.
Hey friend, friend, long time.
Oh my
Not-
gosh, what are you up to?
Not even how you, straight into, do you mind doing this for me?
Hell no. Hell no.
I've had to learn how to say no. And then there's not even friends, there's people that work in the industry that like to take advantage.
The Feel Good Drive, 3 to 6 p.m. on 919.
And we're back with Reality Radio, Friday night with 919. In studio tonight, Gaven Sinclair talking about his life as an adventurer. I know that kids are a big deal in your life, and you have dedicated yourself to the most incredible adventures to raise funds to assist children in need, particularly children who are being trafficked. Where did that project start and why?
So in 2017, when I decided I wanted to cycle from Cape Town to Cairo, doing something on an epic scale like that, you obviously want to do it for a good cause and to be able to, you know, while you're out there risking your life and you know, and what resonated for me was child trafficking, because, you know, kids sometimes don't have a voice. And there's so many aspects of child trafficking, you know, from albinos through Africa, where unfortunately there's still some old traditions of muti with witch doctors. So it's not only just child trafficking, but it's people that disappear or albinos through Africa and stuff. So kids resonated with me, and I knew one or two friends of mine who knew the organization. They put me in touch with them. And for 2 or 3 of my challenges, I raised funds and awareness for missing children in South Africa. And then I've also done work for the Sinchpi Wellbeing Program for the health and wellness, which was to motivate and inspire the individual, the community, and the nation to move and make that 1 millimeter shift. Meaning, today I'm going to smoke 3 cigarettes less today. It's just making those small changes. Today I'm going to walk around the block. The next day, I'm going to walk around the block twice, and it's just making that 1 millimeter shift in your life.
I think that's a powerful philosophy to have generally. You know, the adventure that starts with one step. It's a beautiful thing. Do people truly connect, though, the journey that you undertake with the cause that's related to it? Do people really understand how it's intended to help?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. When I was in deep Africa, this person actually thought I was riding my bicycle looking for missing children.
Oh, really?
And I think people do resonate. People do respect if you're doing something good out there. And it's about humanity. And I think if we can just be more kinder in this world and more patient. But yeah, I think people do respect the fact that if you're doing good things out there, there is some sort of respect, and people do appreciate that, definitely.
What kind of a problem are we facing, though, when it comes to child trafficking? Is South Africa, according to your research and things, is South Africa very much part of that route that is part of a global syndicate? How does it work, and where does South Africa fit in that?
Yeah, so I mean, I got to understand a bit of it, and it's there's a child trafficking network, or it's a global network, and the infrastructure is so intense and well structured. And not only is it trafficking of human beings, but it's also trafficking of drugs through these channels. And and what happens is, I mean, they just change their trafficking routes when, you know, the authorities are on them. So they just keep changing as, you know, things as people are trying to tackle that global problem, and it's always been a problem, unfortunately.
So if people decide to support your adventure and they say they'd like to make a donation, what reassurance do they have that these funds are going through this process and this is what the expected outcome will be?
So, I mean, that's a good question. So, I mean, it's, you know, these organizations, I just say when people ask, why did you choose Missing Children South Africa, an NPO or NGO? I think the thing is, choose a organization that resonates with you. And I think organizations are transparent. They are on social media. They do show, and when people make donations, it's a public forum. So you can actually see that you've donated, and you know it's all calculated and it's shown on a public forum, so you can actually see your donation, where it goes, and it's obviously to help with the daily operations of an NGO, because any NGO needs funding. It's a non-profit organization, so to keep, you know, to pay for the staff and to keep the lights on and stuff, and for them to carry on doing what they do.
I remember being involved in a project. You might be familiar with it. You know, 2 rand to feed a hungry child.
Yes.
So you go and buy this chicken, and the staff at the counter would say, "Would you like to add 2 rand to your bill?" And I was one of the very first ambassadors of that program, with my colleague and very dear friend Hlubi Mboya. And at the start of this project, we were actually taken to the headquarters of the corporate entity that, you know, initiated the entire thing. And they said, "We're going to show you up front what the structure is and where the money goes."
Right.
And they said, we're going to run this project, and in the first 6 months, we're going to have a competition to see which outlet collects the most money. And then we're going to visit them anywhere in the country, wherever this branch is. We're going to go and visit them on site and give them a big thank you.
Wow.
So there it was, me and my buddy Hlubi. After 6 months, we were thinking, okay, it's time. We're going to take a trip. We're going to go somewhere to see which outlet has raised the most money. It turned out to be Ladysmith.
Oh, wow.
Ladysmith.
One of the smaller cities.
Imagine
or
that.
Towns.
Because, and it puzzled us at first, because we were thinking, how on earth did this little takeaway outlet in a taxi rank raise more money than anywhere else in the country? And what we discovered when we went to meet the staff is that not only were they quite disciplined when it came to engaging with their customers, but it was also that poor people understand what it means to be hungry.
Sure.
Poor people are more
That's
likely
true. Very true.
to donate that money, that extra
Because they
2
know what
rand.
it's like to go without. Makes sense.
That was such a lesson.
Wow. What a lovely initiative.
Yeah, and it's still going strong, even though
brilliant.
we had worked with it from the early days. For the first year or so we were involved, and then the campaign itself evolves into other things.
Correct.
But part of and that's the reason I asked you the question, it's you absolutely have got to know where the money goes.
True.
And you got to know that upfront, because the last thing you want is for somebody to say, "I donated money to you. I don't know about the cause. I know you.
Yes.
And I gave you the money. What did you do with my money?"
it? Correct.
And that happens a lot. In fact,
Sadly.
I'm pretty sure that you would get requested to do events all the time. Please MC this. Please appear here. Please give me a motivational talk. And you say, sure, who's the organization? And they give you some name, some charitable organization. And it turns out that they're not registered or anything. And it's just a bunch of mates who are getting
Correct.
together,
Yeah.
even if their intentions are good. The fact that they are not a registered organization gives you cause for concern. Where's the money going to go in my name?
Exactly, yeah. And who do you stand for as an ambassador? And
That's
who are you
right.
representing? Unfortunately, there is a lot of that out there, and it's sad that, but you have to do your homework.
Correct,
You need
yeah.
to understand who they are, what they stand for, and exactly like you say, where it's all going, and they have to be transparent.
Completely. That's part of our responsibility, I suppose, even though I'm certainly not an adventurer. But we're going to take a short break. We'll be back to talk to the real adventurer. That's Gaven Sinclair right here on Reality Radio.
919 has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, programming that is not harmful to children and that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. If you think we're not living up to that code, you can inform the BCCSA. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa to PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. Or email the BCCSA at napsa.co.za. For more information, visit the bccsa.co.za.
It's Reality Radio on a Friday night with me, Jack Devnarain, and in conversation tonight in studio with Gaven Sinclair. Gaven, I suppose it's something we have in common. But working with kids is the absolute joy of my life. I could spend any amount of time with them. And part of that for me is about literacy. Helping kids to understand the words and how the words connect to bigger ideas and how words are simply like toys. And these words, like toys, connect with other toys. And if you put them together, these incredible toys become words and sentences and thoughts that you use to express yourself. Now, let's talk about your book. Your book, directed at kids, is what's the plan behind that? What's the objective?
So I'm busy going through publishing a book online and print copy. The title is The Golden Skull of Peru.
Oh, nice.
So it's about a younger version of me who goes on this incredible adventure after finding a lost map in an attic. And what it's about motivating kids to get out and explore and go on your own little adventure. And it's about having confidence and this person who goes on this journey by land, on sea, through the forest, through the desert, and it's about this constant always challenging yourself and trusting yourself and believing in yourself that you are able to overcome any challenge no matter what. But it's really about opening up that creativity in kids' minds, about daydreaming or fantasizing about exploring and adventuring. And as a kid, when I watched these National Geographic magazines and stuff, and I'd look at Jacques Cousteau. He was another hero of mine, where he lived under the sea.
Yes.
And to me as a kid, seeing these guys walking on the bottom of the ocean, it opens up creativity and doors of possibilities in life. And I think kids really need creativity in life, and it's so important to get out and explore and see the world. There's so much to explore.
Imagination is the vehicle that takes you there, right?
Correct.
What was it like when you were growing up? So you grew up in Joburg.
Yes.
And what was it like? Nice little suburban neighborhood.
Yeah, middle class. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the BMX craze when it started.
Yeah.
I literally, on the weekends and during school holidays, me and my buddies, we would be on our bicycle all day until the sun went down. We were out there as soon as the sun came up, and we came home when the sun was going down. So for me, my childhood growing up in Joburg was all about just adventuring on our BMXs and just going places in a group of people, and those were incredible. That built a foundation for me in terms of physically building myself up physically and mentally, and that was a stepping point for me, BMXing. It was one of the most memorable times of my life.
Yeah. And through your teenage years, what was that like? Were you also getting into the pool, getting into mischief?
Yeah,
meeting
sure.
the girls?
You become a teenager and stuff, and I got into going to the gym and stuff, and you as a teenager, things do change, and that you're networking, you're growing your relationship with people and friends and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's just part of life, my life's journey, I guess.
And are you documenting that journey, and are you bringing those experiences into the book as well, or is the book a completely fantasy world of adventure?
Well, it's a little bit, it's really about my experiences through Africa and stuff. So I'm sort of combining, so the imagery was created through DALL-E 3 and AI. I've got a copywriter, my partner, incredible person, Nikki. She's proofreading and helping me with the editing of the book. But it touches on a whole lot of different places and backdrop and scenery, and a little bit of my experiences through Africa. I mean, I ran through Namibia, so there's one or two photos of, you know, the desert and stuff. So I'm trying to just sort of make it more about these incredible photos and backdrops and experiences, like you in deep, thick jungle to like in the desert, or you're on a ship going across the ocean to get to find this treasure in Peru.
Yeah. Do you keep a photo diary?
So Instagram, if that's what you mean. So of course, social media is very important to what I do and stuff. So you know, it's LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So my digital album is Instagram. Yeah,
that's incredible, though. You must have so many experiences recorded in there. How do people take that? I mean, obviously, social media is a world of an adventure all on its own. You got a whole lot of different characters. Do you find generally people receive your content really well?
Yeah, I mean, look, I have a few followers. I mean, it's not for everyone, but on social media, that I've been very fortunate that the press has covered my stories along the way, because there are a lot of people out there that do incredible stuff for good causes, and sadly they don't get the word out, or they don't, you know, the press doesn't cover their stories and what they are doing. So I'm very, very grateful that the press has covered me on TV, radio, newspapers, such as you here tonight. So social media, yes, there are people that follow me, and I think people just tune in and tune out to see if I'm still alive, and am I actually doing this, and has he actually made it? So I think the goal is for me, when I go in my charity challenges, is to hope to come back in one piece. And I think people like to sort of watch, you know, with one eye to see, you know, if he makes it back. And a lot of people have responded to me, say, you know, we live precariously through you, beyond our computer, watching you, and you actually show us, you're showcasing the whole of Africa, because you've gone to places that is really remote and out there, that you're highlighting the beauty of Africa, and people actually enjoy going along the journey with me, although they're sitting in their office or behind a computer. I take them on the journey with, so yeah, social media, and that is very important.
Do you live stream as well?
I've taken live stream, not really the live stream, but recordings of me running through the desert, or like rowing and trying to get across a river mouth. To give you an example, one of the challenges of my Joburg to Cape Town was running on the beach, is timing the tide right, and getting across mouths, you know, the rivers that join the ocean. And some you got to get a boat, or you got to go around, you got to navigate it. So always a challenge.
If I was a product developer and I was doing R&D on, you know, running shoes, or what kit to use, what backpack, what supplements, I would so use you.
Appreciate it. You know, I've been very fortunate to have been a brand ambassador for Falk and Garmin, and some top brands. So I've been very fortunate where you get monetary and you get product, you get to test out the latest stuff. And you obviously, in return, you obviously advertise on social media that you are endorsed by them and you use their products and that. Because being out there in Africa, solo unsupported, you rely heavily not only on your own intuition, but you rely on your GPS watch and stuff, and your tracking to understand. And I'll give you an example. When I ran 388 kilometers along the Mozambique coastline, I heavily needed a GPS watch because what I do is each morning stage, I knew that I had to run 40 Ks or 50 Ks with a backpack, barefoot, and I would run until I got to say 40 Ks, turn, and then hopefully over that dune is the lodge where I'm booked in at. So, and a lot of the times you don't see the lodges because there are a lot of high dunes and stuff. So you definitely rely on tech.
Have you had any disappointments with tech? Like a brand that you thought was reliable and it let you down? And what would you do in those cases?
Well, I think you just kick back into natural instinct, survival. Like you trust yourself, and you know you have this internal compass. We all have it. That you actually understand. Like that's north. The sun rises on the right and sets on the left. So there are many things you can work around. But where tech lets you down is not really the product. It's not having electricity to charge your tech or your watch and stuff. There was a time where because I was so remote, there was no power or electricity where I was, and I couldn't charge my watch. And my battery had died, and that day I ran till about 10, 11 o'clock at night running on the beach, got lost, hopefully lost, couldn't find where I was meant to turn off. And I remember I managed to turn on my phone, and the wind's blowing and the sand's going in my mouth and stuff, and I hid behind this dune and this bush, made a call saying, guys, I'm lost, I don't know where I am, and my GPS, I can't see where I am. And these guys, where I was booked into the eco lodge, the manager went down to the beach, and he lit a torch of all this wood to give me a beacon.
Oh, come on.
And I'd overshot by about 10, 15 Ks. And I had already run 45 Ks on the beach. So I had to go back. I was exhausted. I was hallucinating. I was seeing things. I was like, and then actually I could see this beacon, this flickering. And I got there. I promise you, I was so happy when I got to where I was supposed to. And like I say, I had to rest a day or 2 days, I think it was. I was exhausted the next day. I couldn't carry on. It was a really tough stage. But you make the best of it. Like I say, good day or bad day, every day is a good day. And you just take it in a modular state. You don't. So the way I prepared mentally for Cape to Cairo was literally in a second. I just said, I'm not cycling to Cairo. And the whole thing is it's modular. So you get through your stage only worrying about what you have to do that day. And you don't worry about the next 12,000 kilometers.
Oh, no, of course.
Still got to go. So it's modular.
I can only imagine what it must be like. You've run yourself out of your own legs, and you realize you've overshot, and now you got to go back to your rest camp.
Unbelievable. You actually so exhausted, but then you kick into a hyperdrive. Like I say, you've got that other 60%.
Sure.
But when I got to that beacon, the guy, it was still another 5K walk inland to get to this place. It was a really, really tough stage.
You don't normally travel or cycle at night for these adventures, do you?
Look, there were a few times where on the bicycle I rode, and I'll give you this funny story through Africa. My headlamp, the light went flat, and it's a highway of buzz of locals, and you've got all these beautiful local homes on the left and the right, and you can hear the chattering of families settling down for dinner,
and you'll smell supper as well,
and the fireplace is going. And I remember I almost had a head-on collision with this guy. All I could see was white teeth, and this guy, because I was playing with my light and I wasn't concentrating. But yes, I've ridden at night with a full moon to get to one of the borders, because I had to get to the border, and so I've done some night running and cycling and stuff, definitely. And early morning. So you must remember, you change your tactic when you're going into the more hotter climates where you're looking at 30, 40 degrees. I mean, Cairo is 40 degrees. So you actually start cycling at 3 a.m. By midday, you want to be off.
Right.
So you rest in those hot times, and you start earlier in the mornings where you're literally cycling or running early morning, and it's still night.
Unbelievable. So the adventure continues. In 10 seconds, where's your next adventure? So
the tick boxes, I've done the run, the swim, the cycle. I would really love to row across the Atlantic, or I'd love to summit a mountain. Those would be my next two disciplines to focus on.
And Reality Radio will be here, tracking your next adventure, seeing what challenges you'll be confronting and you'll be beating. It's amazing how much you learn about yourself and how you humble yourself to life and this incredible, beautiful world around us.
Thank you so much.
It's been a real pleasure, Gavin. Thank you so much, everybody. Remember, this is Reality Radio. It's every Friday night on 919 from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. My name is Jack Devnarain. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.